Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm here today to talk to you about 10 tips to help you de-bloat and also possibly lose a few pounds of water weight. So while these are all things that are great to use actually on the regular and start implementing like as a daily habit or new habits to your health and fitness repertoire, it's definitely something you can use for a short period of time if you just want to kind of see how it works for you. If you have after photos coming up, I know for those of you in Fierce AF, if you have an event coming up, anything where you're just like, I just need to kind of like lose a little bit of this, just like puffiness and swelling, and see what I can do with some little tips. So I've got 10 tips for you. I'm going to try not to go down the rabbit hole and squirrel off too much, but feel free if you have any questions, post them below, or if you have any tips that you want to add that maybe I missed, feel free to add those in as well. So first tip, number one, is gum. I love chewing some gum, but I'm going to tell you when I go into contest prep, and now going into my 9th show, the week before my show, I do all 10 of these things, and I will say I noticed a significant difference in tummy bloat and just feeling kind of blah all in general. So I love chewing me some gum, but if you can avoid chewing gum for 7 days prior to your event, or if you have after photos or something like that, you will notice you're not pumping so much air into your gut. So a lot of times when we chew gum, we don't realize it, but we're swallowing air and pumping air into our belly, which then gives us a little bit of gassy, bloated feeling. So that's one reason to cut back the gum chewing or just omit it completely. The second reason is that a lot of times gums have artificial sweeteners and like artificial chemical-y type stuff in them. And this is going to go down to another tip that I have later down the line, tip number 10. But it will, those artificial sweeteners get into your intestines, and your intestines don't recognize it as something natural, and will kind of start to bubble up, and you'll notice some bubbly guts. And my son actually is very in tune with his body, strangely enough, for being 13 years old. He refuses to chew gum because he says it hurts my stomach and it makes me feel bloated and gassy and pressure in my tummy. And sometimes we don't realize it as adults, but that is one thing. That is tip number 1, is cut out the gum. Number 2 is try not to drink from a straw. Kind of the same principle, drinking from a straw and you don't realize it, but you're also actually drinking in some air when you drink from a straw. So you're pumping in a little extra air into your guts as well, which can cause some intestinal distress, a little gas, a little bloating as well. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is increase your water. And I know sometimes as women, I've heard this often from clients is, I don't want to drink more water because I feel like it makes me bloated. Well, that's true if you're guzzling your water all at once, but if you can slowly sip your water throughout the day, but also increase it from what you have been drinking, it is going to help you flush the water out. So it's not going to keep you feeling bloated. It's actually going to help you pass more water. So you want to keep your water high during a time like a week where you're trying to de-bloat a little, is keep that water a little bit high. And then the day of your event, so I utilize this for competition. So the day of my competition, I will cut all water that morning and then let my body naturally just kind of excrete. I hate that word. It's so like technical and medical, but let my body excrete what's left that I've kind of hydrated with for the week. And you will notice your tummy will feel a lot tighter and a lot flatter because you have increased all week and then just cutting it out the last couple days. Tip number 4, keep salt relative. So what does that mean? Do not cut sodium. That is a huge mistake. Some people think that because I go, on stage and I'm competing, oh, you must have like a super bland diet. You don't eat any salt. I keep my salt relative the whole prep. During the week of prep, I don't do any crazy cuts with my salt. I keep everything relative. I don't drastically decrease and I don't drastically increase. So you want to keep your salt levels about the same while you're increasing your water and doing all these other little tips. So don't freak out. You can still salt your food how you have been. Don't overly and don't under salt, but keep it relative to what you have been doing currently. Tip number 5, cutting out foods that are going to cause bloating or fartiness. So foods like, and I'm going to, some of these you may know already, but I have some clients that have never cut anything out of their diet, so they're completely unaware that some of these things are causing intestinal distress, if you will. So things like onions, garlic, legumes, so beans, cabbage, cruciferous vegetables, so broccoli, cauliflower, you want to just cut those out. And I'm going to talk about what vegetable you want to add that's going to help you flush in just a second. But all those things, they're a little bit harder for you to break down, so your stomach will naturally, sometimes, some people have no problems, but most people have a little bit of a hard time breaking down those vegetables. Our digestive system has a hard time kind of like chewing them down. So the byproduct of that is farts, and bloatiness. So if you cut those out during a time when you're trying to de-bloat, lose a little bit of water weight, you will notice a huge difference. So try that out. Let me know what you think. The next tip is the food that is going to help you flush some water is asparagus. So for those of you in Fierce AF, you know asparagus is in the 7-day shred plan, and that is by design, and that is something, it's an old bodybuilding trick, and I will use it towards the end of my prep because, let's face it, eating tons of asparagus, one, is not the most fun thing in the world, and two, like, who likes stinky asparagus pea, right? But there is a component in asparagus that will help you naturally, it's like a diuretic, will help you flush excess water from your system. Hence why it's on the 7-day shred plan, and why bodybuilders use it so much during the last week of prep. So eat up on that asparagus. And you don't have to boil it. There's like so many other creative ways. Like I had to get super creative during my early days in bodybuilding. I was eating that stuff like boiled, and it was awful. So you can put it in the oven. You can saute it in a pan with just a little bit of pan spray and some seasonings and whatnot. And it's actually really, really good. So use your creativity cap when making that asparagus. It does not have to be just boiled. Okay, number 7 is adding in digestive enzymes. So I'm a huge advocate of supplements the smart way, one of which I take always, whether I'm prep or not prep, is digestive enzymes. This is going to help break down protein. This is going to help break down vegetables, and it's going to help assimilate all those nutrients and kind of get them dispersed where they need to go instead of just passing through and them really not doing anything. So it will also help with the gas and the bloating as well. The key with most digestive enzymes is you need to take them prior to eating your meal that is going to cause any sort of possible gas or bloating. So before you start chowing down, make sure you pop those digestive enzymes and have those before your meal. If you want my favorite digestive enzyme, check out the GBU book that you ladies in Fierce AF got. All my list of supplements are in there that I still use to this day. You will find it in there. Tip number 8 is along the same lines, but it's probiotics. So getting those good bacteria in our digestive system, in our gut, to help us poo. So poo is kind of like a taboo topic, but I love talking about it because it's super important, and a lot of women find it like embarrassing or cliche. They don't want to talk to their trainers or tell their doctors that they can't go to the bathroom. Ladies, you should be eliminating at least once a day, at least. So if you're going multiple days without using the restroom, add some probiotics, add some digestive enzymes as a starter, and you will notice a significant difference. It may take a day or two, especially if your body's been used to reacting the same way to foods. You may not notice it right away, so give it some time consistently. You can't take it once and expect it to just work and have this miracle effect. So adding those probiotics, that good bacteria, that good gut flora, is going to help you move things along and pass them out when we want that out. We don't want that sitting in there just kind of, hanging out, making you feel uncomfortable, and also making you feel bloated, because a lot of times you can notice that your tummy is distended from too much poo. We can be carrying sometimes up to 10 pounds of poo in our system. That's yucky. You want to get that out. Okay. Tip number 9, natural diuretics. I'm not a big fan of artificial diuretics where you can go to like the vitamin store locally and pick up something and it's like flush out water weight. It's just synthetic. I'm not a big fan of it. I like to do stuff as natural as possible. So during the last week of my prep, and like those of you, if you have an event or Fierce AF photos, something like dandelion root tea is perfect for this. It's not the best tasting stuff. Some girls really, really like it. I've acquired a taste for it. To me, it tastes like toasted sunflower seeds. I guess that's the closest thing I can think of in terms of what it tastes like. But you can find it at any local grocery store. I think places like Rayleigh's and Safeway definitely have them for sure. You can find it on Amazon as well. But it's dandelion root tea, and you'll want to steep the tea bag for at least 10 minutes to get the most of those diuretic properties out of that tea bag. And then you will drink that. You can drink it every day of those 7 days, and it's going to trigger your kidneys and all your internal organs to do the thing to excrete all the water that you may be holding on to. I love this stuff. I don't use it until the very end of a prep because, like anything, your body will acclimate to it. So you want to make sure you're not using it all the time on the regular. I just kind of like to use it when I'm going into a water shred or a cut of some kind where I want to drop those last few pounds of water weight. And that way your muscles will really pop. Okay, they also have capsules as well. I personally haven't used them, but you may want to try that out and see if you would rather do that versus drink the tea. And then last but not least, but super duper important, these were not in any specific order, by the way, is cut out all artificial sweeteners. And this could actually probably be the most important tip of them all, because a lot of times I notice even if I cut artificial sweeteners out for just like 3 days, I will drop typically about 2 pounds on the scale, changing nothing else. So artificial sweeteners are huge. They will make you retain water. So I'm talking things like Splenda or Sweet and Low, those fake like pinky yellow and blue packets that we use to sweeten our stuff. Diet sodas as well. Anything diet usually has aspartame in it, or I think the other one is maltodextrin. Some of those super chemically names in a lot of the diet foods that we eat and drink will cause us to retain water. There is an ingredient in there that does not agree with our digestive system and just pulls kind of all the water into your digestive system. That's why we will bloat from too much artificial sweeteners. So pay attention to things like that. Artificial sweeteners in your gum, in your protein bars, in your protein cookies, all those things. You'll want to cut those all out. So if you're doing the 7-day shred, you will notice there are no artificial fakey foods on there and no artificial fakey beverages. It's very, very super straight and forward and to the point with very, very basic foods on there for a reason, because a lot of this chemically man-made crap that we're eating is not what we were designed to eat by nature, like our ancestors weren't eating that shit. So our body, the only way that we can reject it is by getting bloated, gassy, constipated, or diarrhea is typically those 4 things. So artificial sweeteners are definitely a huge culprit when it comes to retaining water. So those are my top 10 tips. I know I'm a couple days late on getting this to you guys, but let me know if you have any questions, and let me know if you have any extra tips on debloating. I would love to hear them. All right, have a great day.